Hi everyone, welcome to Awake TV. So today Sue and I are going to talk about respecting alternate reality. So the reason I wanted to present this topic because of the last 3 weeks I was keep on encountering the people or being from a totally different timeline, lower timeline, right? Or second or 10 minutes or whatever. And then usually, people or being from lower timeline, they have a very strong opinion, like, oh, this is the only truth, and you have to believe this. That kind of attitude,
Yeah.
So I was listening to it, and then it was very interesting. Like a Japanese kid, I think he's telling the truth. He was saying he came from this star system called Clarion or something. I don't know how to spell it, but he was saying his planet is highly advanced society, I guess technologically advanced. And then, he came here to study Earth. This is his eighth time. And then he's a politician in the planet, and they have money, and then whole universe is 3D. So after I heard that statement, like whole universe is 3D, it was so different from my truth, I know. So I kind of stopped the recording. I freaked out too because, did I stumble myself into weird 3D timeline? Like, what did I do wrong, right? I freaked out. And then the other person was talking about, people in his organization, people being too lazy or something. And then my guide was saying, you are the last person who call yourself as a lazy, You don't burn out when you're lazy. The lazy person don't even think, they're lazy, right? Or even worry about it. So I was
Mhm.
like, okay. And then I basically came across and then having that kind of experience, then my main thing was which timeline am I on? Because of all these different kind of people with different kind of point of view and then different kind of experiences, and I happen to come across, right? And then my guide right now is a Cassiopeians, 90 Cassiopeians, and they're saying that, well, first of all, Archangel Michael was telling me when angel comes and they deal with humans or others, other beings, they don't lower their vibration. And then they are not scared of dealing or meeting with some person or being who are lower vibration than them. They just be who they are and then do their job. So I was like, that makes sense.
Mhm.
So he was saying, why are you scared of? And I was like, he does have a point. And then, because Japan's are saying, if you are constantly staying 5D, means every single minute, every single second, you have no job. Means,
On Earth, right?
yeah, you have
Yeah.
no mission.
Right.
So they're saying we do fluctuate our vibration. And then let's say people are being who we call as 3D, they do raise the vibration. It's similar to channeling, like we lower, they increase their vibration. Somewhere along the line, we meet up,
Mhm.
right? Temporary. So all this meeting, all this encountering, it's not necessary you screwed up yourself or you're thinking about this and that, and then somehow you stumble across into weird timeline. Because first thing I started worrying about is what timeline am I on? And then they're saying the whole point, we are learning, not just me and the Sue. I'm talking about all of you guys. If you are listening to this, you are learning this. You are learning to hold your core frequency, right? We have a core frequency, but we do fluctuate. Like whatever that happened in your life, because life happens, or we deal with other people, or we happen to watch some kind of information and we get scared, right? Whatever. So we do fluctuate, which is
Right.
normal. And then we get back,
Which we signed up for in the human
yeah.
experience.
And then
Otherwise, we wouldn't have come here.
yeah, and then when we fluctuate, we meet all sort of people or beings, and then do not be afraid. And you learn to hold your frequency, core frequency, you still fluctuate.
Hmm.
And that was my big lesson. And then I wanted to talk about this topic because it might help you guys to
Hmm.
knowing this, right? When we are sharing this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Um, so many things are just like flowing in my brain as you're talking, and I'm just trying to like sort out where do I want to start. But I think I want to start with Arn Ellingham, aka Zingdad, which you can find his material on zingdad.com. Because I remember reading something that he put in there in his Ascension Papers books that really, really opened my eyes to this topic, which is we can't know um, what each of us signed up for when we decided to journey to Earth. Okay. And so the one that may seem low vibrational and flying in low density behaviors and around low density people, um, that may just be this trip. You know, maybe in some other lifetime or some other reality, they were a much higher frequency being, behaving that reality as a human. And so this time around, they decided they want to try this other way of being. It's all experience, right? So for anybody to judge where somebody else is, number one, you're kind of not being fair to yourself and you're not being fair to the other person because just by comparing at all is putting a judgment on it. And it's like assuming that everybody is going to be trying for the same experience in human reality, which we aren't. We're all here for different things. Some of us may be here for similar things, and that's why we call ourselves soul families, and we meet and we tend to gather together because yeah, we're working on similar things, and it's really nice to have other people to do it with, and to roll ideas and stuff like that. But in the end, um, each and every soul um, has a highest self and a God self and an angelic self and a high level 9D Arcturian self and a Syrian self and and the list goes on and on, because we are infinite beings of light and energy. And we all come from source. So who am I to judge, what you came here to experience or what anybody came here to experience? Now to the idea of just listening to somebody else's experience could somehow change our timeline. I get it why you're saying that you had that fear because I've had the same fear. It's like some things I tune into and I go, oh my God, that's so outrageous. I can't even listen to this, right? Okay. Um, so you turn it off if it really offends your sensibilities that much, and so do I. Um, on the other hand, sometimes it's for me, and I get this in quantum healing sessions, where I'm hearing something that is so fascinating to me. It is such a different point of view than I had ever heard described before that it's like I can't get enough of it. I have to keep listening.
Yeah.
And I love doing these sessions for that reason because it's like, wow, I never thought of experience that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really can't come up with an example right now. But so I'll try and come up with a different example. So I just had some dental work. I had to have some teeth pulled, and I'm not going to get into the reasons for all of that, but I know for sure that dentists are taught probably in school, and then they perpetuate it through society that it's like the worst possible thing you could do to pull teeth instead of trying to save them. Now, that's a reality that they try to dispense to everybody. So they want you to get the root canals, they want you to get the crowns, they want you to blah, 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 blah. No matter what your history is and what you've already been through, and whether you have an anxiety about being in the damn chair, which who doesn't have an anxiety about being in the dentist chair, really? Um, that's their point of view. That's what they try to push. Oh, it's always paramount to save the tooth. Now, that might be something that they get from dental school, and as doctors, and it's always important to preserve. But I mean, another point of view might be what you find in a lot of Bibles, which says, "If your eye offends thee, pluck it out." If you know, so basically, what that's telling people is, if you have a body part that's making the rest of you sick, then you need to take it out.
Mm.
Okay, so people have appendix surgeries. They have right. So getting back to the teeth. I had to go to 3 dentists till I finally found a woman who would listen to me and understand what I've already been through and what I'm not willing to go through again, and she was willing to do what I asked her to do, which was I had some teeth that had to come out, and I'm gonna get, um a partial flexible denture to make up the difference. And then eventually there'll be med beds and I'll get brand new teeth and the problem will be resolved. That's
Yeah.
my reality. That's what I'm creating. But for me, that's the easiest route to get to my goal, which is having healthy teeth. And I don't want something to go wrong in my body systemically by trying to save teeth that can't really be saved. Or maybe they could, but I don't want to go through all the pain of it, right?
Yeah.
So the bottom line of this story is, am I going to buy into the narrative that I should be ashamed because I lost some teeth or I had some teeth pulled purposefully because that was easiest for me? Should I be ashamed of that? Should I walk around and, oh, cover my mouth and or make up excuses and reasons of, no, you know what? This is my mouth. These are my teeth and I'm doing the very best that I can to maintain my health. So I made a decision for me. Am I going to buy into that whole industry that says I should feel ashamed about that? I'm not. And I'll tell you why, because I really do take good care of my teeth. This is just something with my physiology. And also, by the way, I also believe that our propensity for illness has to do with imbalance of our emotions and our minds and things like that. I know exactly what this lesson is for me with losing my teeth. I know exactly why it happened. I know exactly why the problem exists. And that has allowed me to introspect to myself on how I handle my life and how I handle fear and how I handle trying to control outcomes, right? It's all associated with teeth.
Mm.
Um, those kind of fear of future and control issues, right? So let go of all of that. So why not let go of the teeth that were problematic and come in with another solution and do it differently next time? Why do I have to be ashamed of that process? Why do I have to feel that I'm less than anybody else? I mean, I've certainly met people that have never had a cavity in their whole lives. Awesome. That's great for you. I'm so happy for you. That doesn't mean I'm any worse a person or a human being because I wasn't as successful at it as you are. I mean, good for you. I really mean that, but I'm not going to feel any less than as a human being because I had that experience. So I guess I hope I'm making the point, but it's like when a whole group of people believe things a certain way, I can see the tendency where other people will be like, well, if they're all saying this, then this must be true. And after all, they're doctors, you know, before they're dentists, they have to be a doctor. So like maybe they know more than I do. Well, maybe, maybe not. It still doesn't mean I did something wrong or that I should be ashamed of. It just means this is what I'm going through. It's something that's happening to me, and it's an experience my soul decided to have. So like, I just think that the more we buy into somebody else's reality, the more we're giving up our own power And at the same time, we don't have to put down somebody else's reality because that's what they've created for themselves to experience. So I think there's respect that goes both ways. When we honor ourselves in our own path, we don't beat ourselves up for things. And we say, okay, I learned something from this. And then other people are doing the same thing. So, as long as we're not like in physical pain listening to somebody else's story,
Mm.
I don't think it's a bad thing to hear somebody out. And I feel like when you told me about this fella that you sensed truth in what he was saying to you.
Yeah, the kid. I know he wasn't lying because I don't really see the benefit for him to talking about this. And he's a kid, you know. So I came to the conclusion he came from the timeline. It's very unbelievable to me, but his timeline is there is no other being other than 3D everywhere in the universe, right? He came
Mhm.
from that timeline. But just because that's out of my knowledge or out of what I learned from other galactics, that doesn't mean I can deny him or tell him like, oh, you're lying or you're crazy. That's his reality, right?
Or your truth isn't true. Or my reality is the only reality, right?
Yeah, it's like my reality is truth to his reality is truth. So my, Actuarian, not Actuarian, because your parents are saying being in 5D means you are more open to accept all kind of different perspective or different reality or different beings. So when we expand our capacity to accept the differences, to let them be as is without we are forcing them to change or forcing them to believe in what we believe in, that's 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 5D. That's what they're saying. So we are not only holding our core vibration to meet all different people or being around the way during the day or during the year or whatever. But we're also expanding our consciousness and expanding our ability to accept something so unbelievable to us, right? Because when we hear something we never thought of or out of our truth or out of what we think is right or whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
um Automatic response is, oh my god, like I'm right and this person is wrong. But that's very 3D. Like 5D, they are saying everyone
Yeah.
is right? You don't
Yeah,
have to
well,
let other people to be your way.
one of the things that's coming in for me now is like my husband, he keeps lately, I want to say the last maybe 2 years, he keeps getting in contact with an alternate reality of his own, like another part of his soul.
Hmm.
And he said, it doesn't happen like every day or anything, but that when it does happen, he almost has to reorient himself. He has to say, my name is Brent and I live with, I'm married to Sue and I have 2 kids, right? And so I ask him questions. I say, okay, tell me about this other reality, tells me some things, what he can remember or what he intuits. And
Wow, that's so cool.
it is. And I said to him, I said, is it possible that because you're expanding your consciousness, that you're linking with this other aspect of yourself and that possibly you're sharing, your talents with each other, like your strengths with one another? And he said, yeah,
Huh.
that's possible. Because I think that we can draw on our other aspects, especially when we're
Oh
looking
yeah.
for strengths, and power, and you know, and we can also help our other aspects get through their traumas too, using our
Definitely.
strengths, right? So I'm thinking about this kid that you're telling me about, and I'm thinking I have a feeling he's linking into another one of his aspects. And there truly are so many worlds. There's infinite worlds, right? And so the laws of the universe that he's linking into may be only 3D. But
Yeah,
you also said that he was talking about they use money differently. They don't use it as a power and control thing. They don't use it as a form of separation. They use it as what money is intended to be, which is a tool.
but they do get violation though. Like he was saying, they have the tool place. Like people do make their own movable chair or something, and then all this chair or movable.
So their technology is different.
Yeah, it's a flying chair, and
Oh,
then
neat.
it will fly in certain height. So it depends on the height. They have a speed limit. So
That's kind of cool.
higher
Sounds
you,
like an alternate reality to me.
yeah, he said it's a different planet though. So higher chair goes, like you can I guess drive like 200 kilometer or something. But when you are flying from 20 20 kilometer to 50, there's a speed limit. And then when you ignore the speed limit, you have to pay like, the fine.
Hmm.
So he was talking about people do have to pay fine, and then what's gonna happen is if they violate too much, they're gonna they're gonna put them into the
A
place of
timeout.
no, yeah, like place of nothingness. So they have to stay in place of nothingness, and then for certain years, and they come out, and then they progress their age, whatever the year they are staying there or something. He was talking about that. So that
It
was really,
sounds very orderly.
it is
It
like
sounds like, that there isn't the quite the power struggles that there are here on Earth. So even if it is 3D, but they have this order and it seems to make sense. I mean, why would we say outright that it isn't possible that it's true? I mean, it could be true.
yeah, it
And
could be.
and if anything else, it's true for him.
I mean, I believe some other 3D planets function differently. The only thing I had, problem with is everybody in the universe is 3D and there is no Arcturians. And I was,
Oh, wait a second though. That could be his universe that he's
yeah,
talking about,
that's his universe. This is
not
not
our
true,
universe.
not
Yeah,
our universe.
right.
It's
And
no,
there's
not
so
our
many.
universe.
I mean, that's what a lot of people don't understand is that there's an infinite number of universes out there. It's kind of like, did you guys see Men in Black, that movie? And when Will Smith opens the locker and there's a universe in this tiny little globe in the top of the locker. And then when Will Smith looks closer at it, he can see it inside this tiny little ball. But when you step back, it's this itty bitty little ball that was a crystal ball that was on a cat's collar. But
Huh.
there was a whole universe in there. And that was kind of the point, I think, of Men in Black is that, it was like starting to open our eyes to the fact that there's so much more out there than Earth and our universe. There are there are universes within universes, right?
Yeah, and then it's a completely like other universe are governed by completely different law. Like our
Different
universe,
laws, different
our universe,
densities.
yeah, our universe is we do have to follow this rule that we accept free will, right? That's how this universe works,
Hmm.
accepting free will.
Yep.
So, respect that, respect other people's free will too. That's why, people are asking, oh, why can this evil can exist, or this evil entity, whatever, like how come God doesn't punish? Because it's free will and the
Hmm.
experience of the creator. He
Hmm.
wants to go through what it's like to feel while he's
Separation.
being super evil or something like that. The whole point is there's a free will, so we do have a responsibility of carry on what kind of will we'll hold on to and then live our life. It always comes with responsibility, but we are not responsible for other people's will, and we are not really judging other people's will, right? We always have to, I don't like saying pay for it, but in a way, cause and effect is working in this universe up to a certain dimension. So, that's how it is. But,
But is it
Cassiopeia,
really directly affecting, because with all of the I know what you're saying is like maybe we're paying a price for other people's creations, but how about just bear with me for a second. It's like when we did a show a while back called Stay in Your Own Lane, right?
yeah.
And I gotta tell you, I am not experiencing in my reality any of this anxiety, fear, with world events that are going on now. I stay out of politics. I don't
Oh,
even I
yeah.
don't watch the news. So my reality is very different than a lot of other people because they're tapping into that. And when you tap into that energy, it becomes part of your reality and you start to become affected by it, whether it's emotionally, physically, whatever. Um, so, I guess we circle back to this topic, which is, if you stay in your own business, if you pay attention to what you want to see in your reality and what you're working on, and stop looking at everybody else's reality and saying, is it true? Is it not true? Really, do you want it to be? Um, because that's the big question. If I wanted to get involved in what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, right? What's that going to do for me? Can I physically go do anything about it? No. It's just going to cause me emotional distress. I don't need that in my life. I've got my own things I got to deal with, right? So I don't pay attention to it. And consequently, now some people say, oh, that's so cold, that's uncaring, that's ignorant, that's all these things. Those are all judgment statements. But the fact of the matter is, that situation that I can do nothing about is not impacting my life.
Yeah, that's true. And then whole point of this topic today is like Cassiopeians are saying, be a sommelier of your reality, because every single core of our activity thing is to share how to be a good creator, right? Effective creator. So
Hmm.
when you come across someone or something or some being saying something totally different from you can reject everything, but world is not so black and white. So even one thing you are like, oh, I didn't know about this, or one or two things you get impressed about, or something you can learn from, or whatever, right? Then you can take that just because out of 10 element, like you get scared and you can't take anything out of this. But if you find something wrong too, something cool about it, maybe you can take it. You're not going to have any kind of bad effect by it, right?
Hmm.
Anything you would have is expansion, because
Yeah.
you came across from some different being or different person. You never looked at this way, or you never had that kind of timeline or reality, or parallel universe or alternate reality or whatever that is. So whole point of this lesson for me was be open-minded. Like I'm pretty open-minded person, but when I come across completely different from what I know about galactics and everything, I do have a certain reaction to it, right?
Hmm.
But what I learned is that you don't have to reject everything, right? Like one thing about this kid is, okay, this kid is one of the kid who is clearly having memory of galactic life.
Hmm.
So that's cool, right? No
Yeah.
matter what reality he came from. So that was a really nice experience for me to listen to what kids has to say, because we are going to have kids like that in the future more and more.
Oh, yeah.
Kids who can remember about other planet and other life, whatever, right?
Hmm.
So my guys are saying be a sommelier. So you can pick and choose anything you come across in your life. You don't have to pick everything. But all this mixture will make interesting flavor.
Yep. Well, if
Mhm.
you think about it, I would guess that some of the best books, fictional books that have ever been written are could be because somebody heard a tale like that, or maybe they had a memory or a dream or something or an inspiration that was otherworldly or interesting to them, and they kept going with their imagination and following the thought or imagining what it would be like if it was this way. And I mean, some of my favorite books, I think, come about that way. I mean, Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek, which is one of my favorite series of all times. And as you notice, some of the things in Star Trek are starting to happen, or are technologies that are coming. I happen to know somebody who's creating a needleless injection, and that reminds me of Star Trek. They'd get their shots in the neck, but there wasn't a needle. It was a push of energy, and then you got your injection. So that would help a lot of people in the world,
Oh yeah.
diabetics, children with vaccine, all this kind of stuff, to not have to deal with needles, right? Well, it's coming. It's already been made. It's just, I can't say too much about it, but it's coming. So, you know, the creative process can be really aided if we don't reject and we do respect other people's realities, because some of the greatest creative works are done on what we call fantasy. So at the very least, you hear a story like that, you can sit down and wonder about it, go, gee, I wonder what it would be like to be in that world, and how neat it would be to be in a car that flies, and you can determine how high you go according to how fast you go. And I mean, I could just have fun thinking about that for a while, right?
Yeah, and then I mean, we majority of us went through the COVID experience, and then one thing we all learned, or hopefully we did learn, is to accepting the differences. Some of the family member might not want to do any shot, and some of the family member decided to do the one in order to live peacefully with each other, or some might have different political view or something. Instead of fighting and talking about who is right and the other side is stupid,
Yeah.
find the common ground other than why you are different, and then live each other, cohabitate each other peacefully. And that's what my guy is saying, what 5D is all about. It's not like once we shift 5D, everybody start thinking the same way, or we will have a more color and variety when we shift to 5D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention, think about what we can do when we're putting our minds together and sharing ideas rather than fighting each other and arguing over who's right and who's got the power. I really look forward to that, because I think our society is going to have another golden age, when I say society, I mean the earth, I mean human society. I think we're going to have another golden age, the likes of which we can't even imagine right now. And I look forward to that. I really do,
Me
because
too.
my desire to be peaceful and just have love radiate through everybody, stop the racism, stop the arguing and fighting, and just to have peace and coexistence, and think of all the cool things we're going to come up with when we work together instead of fighting each other. I can't wait. Bring it on.
Yeah, and then when two different things gonna melt with each other, something new gonna come out.
Yeah.
Yep. So next week, Sue and I gonna bring more interesting topic. Thank you so much for watching. Please share, like, subscribe, and we see you next time. Bye.
Bye.